During the month of March, I finished 7 books. I also did not finish a lot more books than that. I feel like this month was a little rough, but that's okay. The ones that I did finish, I overall enjoy them. Some of them actually I started years ago. So I'm finally learning to finish what I start. Have I learned that lesson yet? Absolutely not. So let's review these books. In my defense, I started the month by doing my Read It or Unhaul It challenge, where I'm trying to read the books that have been on my shelf for years, and it was productive. I got rid of, I think, 5 books. So for a whole week, I kept starting to read books that turns out I hated, and I had to get rid of them. So that was a little rough. It put me in a reading slump. We're just gonna admit it, but that's okay because I can sense that we're moving away, slowly away from it. The first book that I did finish though was this one. This was The 7-Year Slip, which is an adult contemporary romance, and I overall did enjoy it because I had no brain cell available, and I feel like that's the only thing I could absorb. It did work. It did help a little bit. I'm not a huge romance reader, but I feel like when you just want something that's a popcorn read, this is what you need. So the main character is a woman who feels a little lost in life. She just lost one person that was super important to her aunt, who passed away and left her this apartment, magical apartment in New York, where she was told that she could find love there, maybe. And turns out that she meets this man who is 7 years prior, living his life 7 years prior, and they can meet up at that apartment under certain circumstances. I'm trying to keep it somewhat vague. And maybe they will fall in love. My question when I went into it was, well, if she meets him 7 years ago for him, why do they not know each other now? I do feel like the answers were satisfying, so I'm not, again, you can't go into that book expecting super scientific answers, but it was fun for what it was. I enjoyed it. I decided to give it a 4-star because this is a reading slump solver for me. Just some good vibes. There were a few things here and there that annoyed me. One of them would be a spoiler, so I'm not going to mention it. But there were a few comments about her being oh so old when she's 29, which I'm at the point where it just pisses me off at this point, especially since he was 26, 7 years prior. So in present time, he's 33, which that is fine that she's 29 and him 33, but her being, anyway. That's just, a little personal pet peeve, but overall I did enjoy it. So if you are into romance, you've probably heard of this one. I feel like I've been seeing it going around, but it was worth it. It was good for what it was. Next, I can finally announce that I finally finished the last book in the second Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. This is The Lost Metal. I started this one, I just checked, okay? November 15th, 2022. I have been in the middle of that book for a year and a half. That's just ridiculous. But I did really love the first Mistborn series, and the second one, I just wasn't connecting to it as much. I'm enjoying the banter between the characters. I feel like the series in general, the second one is just unserious. The first one is more like medieval inspired. I really love the magical system. It's essentially trying to take control of the empire. And it was really interesting because it has a really strict magical system. And the second one is set, I don't remember, a couple hundred years later or something, and then whatever happened in the first series affects the context of this one. And you can see how, for example, guns or just technology in general affects how the magic system is being used. And the author is planning on continuing doing that. So the second one, I think is going to be computer age, and then later on spaceships, which I think this is overall a fascinating topic. I wanted to continue because I want to get to the next one, but this one is just a bit too cowboy pew pew for me. It's not really Western. It's more like investigation, murder mystery, and it's either going to be your thing or not. So I overall still enjoyed the series. I think everything I gave 3-4 stars, the whole thing. And because it is the ending, and Sanderson is known for his endings, it was good. It's just that I finished it for the sake of finishing it. So yeah, I think I'm going to round it down to a 3 just because I felt forced. And since it took me a year and a half, it was part of my pile of shame for a while, I just wanted to go back on the shelf and forget about it until the next series comes out. So yeah, no hard feelings, it just wasn't for me. But at the same time, I can't say I hated it because the magical system, so whatever. It's really popular though, so this is 100% a me thing. Next, I finished a couple arcs, including How to Seal Your Own Fate. I just vlogged it if you want to see more about it, but this is the second book in this murder mystery. I think it's going to be a duology, and book 1 was How to Solve Your Own Murder, which I thought was really fun as an audiobook, especially because you get the accent. So murder mystery, small town, England, and the accent. So you have this woman who was foretold years ago that she was going to be betrayed and murdered, and then she spends her whole life collecting everyone's secrets, which obviously does not make her any friends. And then whenever she eventually is murdered, in order to figure out who did it, obviously not for her, but for her distant relative to get her money, she has a week to figure it out. And a lot happens in book 1, and then book 2 continues in that line. I did listen to the first one as an audiobook, like I was saying, and the second one, because it was an advanced reader copy, it was the ebook. But it was still a good popcorn read. Once again, it was what I needed. It was fun for what it was. So if that sounds appealing to you, I would recommend the duology. Book 2, I believe, came out the 28th of March, so like it should be out now. So if you enjoyed book 1, definitely check out book 2. It was fun. Another book that I finally finished, there are a couple here, is A Pirate's Life for Tea. So this is the second book in a cozy, adult cozy fantasy series. You have, it's a bit of a sapphic romance, but not just that. You have the two main characters. One of them is like this magician for the whole kingdom, and then the second one was the soldier to the queen, kind of evil queen, and she runs away for love. They run away together to open up this tea shop, coffee shop, and like bookstore at the same time in a small town, and then they eventually have to do some type of adventures. And then book 2, there's some pirates happening in there, and it's still kind of cozy even though they go on an adventure. I enjoyed the banter, I enjoyed the humor, I enjoyed the pettiness of the author, which this was the dedication in book 2, and this is how you make sure I will be reading all of your books. So I'm gonna give it 3 stars because once again, it was fun for what it was. I will most likely read the third book, but I'm really picky with my cozy fantasy in general. But if you enjoy, like I said, tea, books, in this one there's also, is it crochet? I think it's crochet, not knitting. So the vibes are good. The vibes are good. Like absolutely everyone, I read Sunrise on the Reaper, and I haven't checked anyone's review yet, and I'm kind of afraid to give my thoughts without doing that, but I feel like it's just the best way to not be influenced. So I'll probably look it up afterwards. Feel free to give your own reviews in the comment section. If you're going to put spoilers, please make it super clear. I keep my reviews spoiler free unless I state so, like super obviously. But spoiler free. Obviously, it is Hamish's story, so we already know what's going to happen, right? We already know he's the winner, the survivor, really, of the 50th Hunger Games. What I didn't expect is how nostalgic it was going to make me feel, because you go back 25 years prior to Katniss, right? And you see everyone. So whether it is in District 12, whether it is the other people that we're going to see in the Hunger Games, it was really good because of that. It added a lot of context to Hamish as a character in general. It was still hard to read because even though you know, like, they're going to murder everyone Hamish cares about, because that's what they do, right? To keep control of you. And it had already happened before the first book of the Hunger Games happened. So the prequel, you already know what's going to happen. It was so heartbreaking. Still so heartbreaking anyway. So I did really like it because of that. I feel like the writing was fine, but it's definitely just the nostalgia and the characters that you're just so invested in. I feel like I grew up reading the Hunger Games, so I'm just, again, extremely emotionally invested. So I kind of want to give it 4. I don't know yet. It's still too fresh. It's still too fresh. I'm looking forward to watching the movie because I'm sure it's going to happen. And yeah, obviously if we were looking at it, I say go for it. It was definitely very, very readable. I was feeling the reading slump really badly, and I read this in like 3 days. I just could not put it down. And it makes you realize when you read a book like that, oh, maybe the books I'm reading are the issues and it's not me, because I would find excuses to read just a couple pages, and I don't normally do that often. So I feel like this was really something I wanted to finish and just read in general. So obviously, Sunrise on the Reaper, a must read for sure. The last arc that I'm currently reading is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, which is the first book in an adult fantasy series, which I read the first series by him, trilogy, at least the first trilogy, and I did overall enjoy it. And I've been saying how I feel like maybe it was mostly because of Glokta as a character. I really love the trope of like a hero that becomes kind of a villain. And he kept me very entertained. I feel like he was the reason I really enjoyed the series, and I wanted to try more by him just to see how I felt. But so far I'm like 10-15% into it, so like it might be a bit early, but I kind of feel a bit so-so about the humor. Does it happen to you too? I feel like some of the adult fantasy series written by male authors, the humor can be really juvenile. And again, I mentioned it in the reading vlog, and I'm going to keep mentioning it because I think it's a really offensive topic. The fact that so many female authors, their books are clearly adult, but they will be categorized as YA because they're female authors. And a lot of male authors, which I'm not saying this book should be YA, it's definitely not, but a lot of them will have juvenile humor, and nobody will question that they're adult books. And like, it makes me feel like sometimes I'm not the target audience, which I don't always need to be, obviously, but like younger men are definitely the target audience. For example, there's this magician who was captured. He's one of the devils that is being used to protect the princess. And in order to prevent him from using magic, because he has to write these runes to use it, they keep him either naked or without access to anything to write. And he finds a piece of paper and he uses a toenail and human feces to write. And like, I'm not saying that it's not ingenious, which whatever works, I guess, but like, it's the kind of humor that happens in the book. So I'm like, no offense, it just doesn't really do it as much as when I was a kid, you know? But again, I just think it's a really interesting topic because so many authors, female authors, keep being labeled as YA authors, and they're really not. And we can talk about poop, and that is definitely adult. Definitely adult. The worst book I read this month by far was The Night We Lost Him. Okay, I had read this other book by the author, which had won, I think it was the Goodreads Award for that year, and I think it was part of the Reese Witherspoon book club, right? And I can guarantee you, because it has like 1 million ratings on Goodreads, I can guarantee people voted for that one because they hadn't read any of the other contestant nominees, because this book was not good. I straight up hated it. And I know like everyone's taste is different, obviously, but I thought it was a really poorly written book, and I felt like the main character was trying to piece things together in a way that it made no sense. Like, she was jumped to conclusion, and I have the same issues with this other one. I only got it because it was available to me as an audiobook, so I decided, you know what, let's give her a second chance. And my review is that sometimes second chances are not necessary. Like, if you didn't like her first book and you're looking at this one, don't do it. It's just not worth it. It's another kind of murder mystery, since the main character, her father, had like 3 different wives, but they weren't, you know, the true loves for him. He had like one true love that we don't know who, and he fell when he was at this house that he loves to go to alone, and the kids basically think maybe he was pushed. And that's what happens. But I hated every single character in the book. I didn't care for the writing. The audiobook could not save it. And once again, I felt like she would jump to conclusion. I hated literally everything about it. So I feel like a hater, but I think I should have just trusted my first instinct with her first book. So I'm going to give it 2 stars because I did finish it, but I don't recommend it. I do think that the average rating of this one is much lower than a first book. And again, I'm going to say it. I think it's because it hasn't been picked up that I know of by a book club. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to stop here, but there are more hard feelings than that. The last book that I did finish before I go to the ones I'm currently reading is How Not to Die: Discover the Food Scientifically Proven to Prevent and Reverse Disease. I'm not here to shove in anyone's face diet things. I just think it's super annoying. The author does argue strongly about his side, but I do feel like he's still kind of open, so it didn't feel too preachy. He does eat whole food, plant-based, so do be warned. But I think it's just an interesting topic in general. I do think that the average person could eat more vegetables, so if you want to learn more about it, I do think it was interesting for what it was. Super long though. Once again, it took me getting it twice from the library to actually be able to finish it. But yeah, it was good. It was good. Now let's talk about the ones I'm currently reading. This is not a joke anymore. This isn't funny anymore, but an echo of things to come. Listen, I'm finishing it next month, okay? April, I'm finishing you. I'm saying that because I started the month having to pause it to do my Read It or Haul It challenge. And then I dedicated another week trying to read it, and I made it to chapter 35, page almost 500. So I have like 200 pages left. And again, in April, it's happening. To be fair, it's not the book's fault. I'm enjoying it. Book 1 was a 5-star. So far, I'm leaning towards a 4 for this one, but again, it could still change my mind. But it's just life, okay? I had a lot of things happened, like my basement leaking, which we had more snow and it's raining right now, and I'm really nervous. I don't want more water in my basement, but it's not the book's fault. But I feel like it's kind of inevitable that I will blame the book a little bit. Like, it will affect my rating. I can't help it. Like, as much as you try to avoid it, I feel like most of us are mood readers, and how you feel will affect the rating you give a book, right? I can't be the only one. And I'm not even that much of a mood reader, but I will remember forever that a lot of horrible stuff happened post reading this. But yeah, next month for sure, for sure. Audiobooks, it's been really awful, which is probably why I've been finishing some that are really long or just I'm not that into, because I can't decide what to read. All the ones that I want to get from the library will not be available for weeks and weeks and weeks. I feel like it never happens to me, but it's the case right now. I started so many and put them down pretty much instantly. Currently, I'm reading Nobody Wants Your The Art of Decluttering Before You Die. I had started another one that I returned almost immediately because I didn't like the vibes. This one feels a bit rude. The author swears a lot and she's like giving you tough love, which may or may not be your thing. I feel like I'm at the point where decluttering is doing, like it's going well. I'll probably insert more clips of me doing that during my vlogs, but I feel like I don't really need the tough love, and it's very much like decluttering before you die, which hopefully is not something I have to worry for a little while longer. But yeah, depending on your taste, it might work. It's like 3 hours long, so I feel like I'm just going through it just because I have nothing else to listen to, which is not a good sign. But yeah, I just don't know what to listen to at this point. I'm waiting for other ones that will hopefully solve the slump. That's probably not helping me not feeling in a reading slump. I feel like I kind of explained why I'm feeling kind of so-so about my reading. I feel like I read some really good books I couldn't put down, like Sunrise and Reaping, and then audiobook has been really meh. But that's what April's for, right? April is my birthday month. I have to have a good time. I feel like a lot of really exciting books are starting to come out. Emily Henry, her newest book is coming out, I think 22nd of April. I have more advanced reader copies that I want to read. I'll link down below my April TBR. You're going to be able to see which ones I'm talking about, like V. Schwab, which I'm reading. I'm reading it because I need to get out of the reading slump. Honestly, I probably should just be grateful I survived winter in Canada, and hopefully spring can actually start happening and my mood will improve and I will find a bunch of favorites. Please let me know in the comment section if you have read any of the books that I mentioned. I would love to discuss them with you, especially Sunrise on Reaping. Again, please be careful with the spoilers, and I would love to hear your best books of the month because we might be able to add that to our own TBRs, myself included. Actually, I'll put on the screen my latest reading vlog so you can see me experiencing it, and my April TBR if you want to see what I'm planning on reading next month, and I'll see you then. Bye.